Robert's here now. It's so good to see you, and so good to see you both back.
Hooray!
Hooray! It's really good.
Thank
really
you.
is.
Good. Yeah. No, I've seen it, and I approve of it too.
Well, I'm very glad.
I'm a new fan. I'm an early adopter.
Because that's important. Now, look, tell me about how not to be a boy. What was the idea when you first had, you first wanted to write something?
Well, I thought I had a good story. It's a sort of childhood and teenage memoir because there's a combination of very typical things and slightly unusual things. Worst things happen to people all the time, but it's a bit unusual to lose your mum when you're a teenager. What I do for a living is a bit unusual, but there again, there's lots of teen angst about why these girls refuse to go out with me, which is all too normal.
Very honest, though. That's what I really like about it. And I'm not a boy, no, but it's given me a real insight into how men think, especially young men think.
Well, this man, I mean, I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'm hoping to ring a few bells. Yeah, I found the whole. It sort of came from. I've always had this sort of interest in how boys are supposed to be boys and masculinity and all that stuff, because I found it quite a tight fit when I was little, that boys are supposed to be good at football and games and swimming and maths and science, and they're supposed to be cheeky and boisterous, and I was almost completely mute. So I found it quite a tough fit. So I've always been quite interested in it. And then the stuff that, all the stuff you hear about, not expressing your feelings and man up and be a man and stop crying and all that stuff. And in the book, I talk about how that left me unprepared for when my mum died.
Well, you're not alone in that, I don't think. And I think it's a horrible thing to say to somebody, man up. It's probably one of the worst things that you can say.
Yeah.
Because, people are going through terrible times, or they're going through, you lost your mum. I can't imagine what that must have been like. It's absolutely hellish. And you're told to stiff upper lip. Don't be a wuss.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I'd sort of had that for a long time, and then because I was lucky enough to have friends and family who were saying, look, if you need to talk, I'm here, so just talk. And then suddenly this was, hang on, where did this start? This is all very novel. Now you want me to talk? Okay, because before, oh right, well, how do you do that then?
Yeah.
It sort of leaves you completely untrained to do that stuff.
Because you went to your mum's funeral and then you went straight back to school.
Yeah, well, there was. I mean, again, it's part of the whole. Well, there's no point, moping around. Let's just, let's get on with it. And there's something to be said for it, but I think it's an exception rather than it should be the rule. And I just wasn't processing, to use a slightly Californian phrase. I wasn't really dealing with it properly. It was 3 years after she died that I sought any help, which I think was probably overdue.
Very much so. Do you think we're getting better? Do you think we're getting better at sort of recognising that sometimes people do need help, that roles should be, this kind of thing of boys must wear blue, boys must play with guns, and girls, you can't, here's your dolly.
Yeah.
Because you're a dad of daughters, of course you are.
Yeah, we've got 2 girls, and it's not like we banned the colour pink from the house, and they've played with dolls and all that stuff.
Because a lot of girls will go for pink. I mean, they just do. Of course. That's the way.
And then you dress up as princesses as well if they like, but at the same time they can also dress up as Spider-Man, and they do karate, and there's plenty of Lego lying around, and they can build spaceships. And I hope that if I had boys, that they would get the full options as well.
No, absolutely.
I like to think.
No, I think so, and I think it's important that we definitely do that. That we allow our children to express themselves in the way that they want to.
Exactly.
Without imposing, without either way, without saying this is how it must be, or imposing your own views on them. Just let them. I just think everybody should be allowed to be themselves and just express themselves in the way that they want to.
That's pretty much what I think.
I know. Well, that's
said it for me.
But it comes out. It comes out loud and clear in this. I'll tell you what. You've got some cracking reviews on here. Joanna Lumley says that you are simply brilliant. That's it, really.
That's it.
You can
retire.
Hang
on, I've just peaked. I've peaked. That's it.
Well,
it's all downhill now.
It kind of gets better, if not as good. J.K. Rowling says, I genuinely cried. I genuinely laughed out loud. Profound, touching, personal, yet universal. I loved it.
She has read it.
Is that the
she
real
really
J.K.
has read it, yeah. I promise she's read it.
But that's brilliant. You must be so pleased, because when you write something like this, and I don't know where you wrote it, but presumably it was in your house or in a wee study or something?
Yeah, well, most of it was the sort of summer of 2016. It was actually in we have a tiny little North London garden, and I was at a table under a brolly. There are worse ways of earning a living, but I mean, it took ages.
But when you put it out there, it's kind of like your child. You're putting it out there and looking for approval.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got it, thank goodness.
I mean, what's really nice is that I'm hearing from actual readers now, instead of people reacting to, you know, things I've done on the interviews and extracts and whatnot, but people are actually reading the book, and that's really
And
nice.
what are they saying? What sort of reaction are you
Oh, they hate it.
But are they saying it strikes a chord? Like...
Overwhelmingly positive, and yeah, lots of people, you know, because the stuff about grief. I mean, everybody's lost someone,
of course.
you know, it wasn't a sort of didums me. It's there to reach out to everyone else who's lost someone, which is everyone.
And then, but they think it's okay to feel like that.
Well, yeah, you can't be reminded too often in those situations that you're not alone. And yeah, mothers of boys are particularly interested in it, and but anyone who's got a dad, you know, I say in the book, if you want a man of a certain age to go a bit quiet and stare into the middle distance for 5 seconds, ask him about his relationship with his father, and then expect the word complicated to feature quite heavily in the next sentence. So for boys and their dads as well. So it's, you know, something for everyone.
There absolutely is, Robert. It's brilliant, and it's out right now. How Not to Be a Boy by Robert Webb. Thank you for coming in. Really, really lovely to talk to you.